Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sactown Sports.
No, it's not. In for Allen Stiles, Kevin Whitey Gleason. And one of the great things about filling in for Allen as I am today and as I did yesterday, COH, the delivery of his second child, chance to get to talk to A's third base coach and infield coach Eric Martins. I know Allen does that every week at this time. It's my pleasure now to speak with Eric Martins. Coach, tough one last night against the Boston Red Sox. Is there a value for a young team in playing a team like Boston this time of year when they're really playing for something important?
Yeah, we stress the importance of going out and playing teams that are in contention and facing one of the best pitchers in the league, and going out there because that's the position we want to be in here, hopefully next year. So we stress the importance of going out and playing teams like that. We went out yesterday. Crochet had his best stuff. We knew it was going to be tough anyway. But still, we feel like we can compete with anybody. We have all year. It's just a matter of putting everything together, and it's a good experience for our team to go out and play teams that are contending late in the season.
Coach, I had the occasion to talk this weekend to former major leaguer Matt Noakes. Really interesting conversation. One of the things he said every young player, and he was speaking from his own experience, he said every young player needs to find a mentor at some point, someone to show them the ropes. With this team, I'm wondering, and I know you're a mentor, you guys have mentors, but when you have so many young players who at a similar point in their careers and they haven't done a lot yet, to what point do they help each other get acclimated and learn the ropes of the major leagues?
I think you're seeing that start to happen now. We're so young, but we've also had some players that have been here for, last year and a half or so, like a Zach Geloff. Law's been around for a little bit now. Lang's been around for a little bit now. Rooker's probably the elder statesman on the team that people seem to gravitate towards. So it's a group that's starting to come together as a family, not just teammates and not just guys that play and work with each other. They're starting to grow together, and you see that. You see them starting to talk to each other, picking themselves up and helping each other out, and little things like that. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have, Dave Stewart will come through every once in a while, Scott Hatterberg, back in the day when, Ricky was still with us, used to come around and be able to help mentor these young kids. So there's still a lot of people that they can lean on. We have Bobby Kotz, guys that have played the game for a long time that they can lean towards. But these guys are starting to put it together by themselves and learning to help each other out, pick each other up through these times.
Did you have someone in your pro career? Did you have someone that kind of took you under their wing and showed you the ropes a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, there was a couple of different guys. Paul Sorrento, when I was actually playing in Sacramento, when I opened up the stadium in 2000, he was a guy that kind of really took me under his wing. Guys named like Pat Lennon back in the day, guys like that. So I was fortunate to be around a lot of the guys that, elder states with Tony Phillips and guys like that were able to kind of mentor me and guide me through things. So which was awesome.
Yeah, I know Tony Phillips, and he's no longer with us, but he was playing in for the Pittsburgh Diamonds and the Western League or something when he was in his 50s. So there's a guy that just loved playing baseball.
He was the ultimate professional, man. I mean, that guy can go out there, roll out of bed, and get you 3 hits anytime. So, he was a guy that just, tried to teach me the right way and how to go about things and stuff like that, and have passion for the game every single day, because it's something that we get to do that other people don't get to do, and don't take advantage or don't take that for granted.
We're catching up with A's third base and infield coach Eric Martins. You mentioned Zach Geloff, and I know coming into this year, highly regarded prospect, and obviously he still is, but he struggled a little bit this year. So how important are the remaining weeks in the season for him to try to get part of this season back on track?
Yeah, it's important for him because he's an important part of our team. You get Zach Geloff going off where he was about a year and a half ago when he first busted onto the scene. And this lineup is even more potent. And his athleticism and his ability to go out and play defense, his speed, his power combination, and his pure passion for the game. I mean, he brings a different kind of energy around. So it's important for him to get these at-bats in his last, 18 games that we have left and catch up for some at-bats because he was hurt most of the year this year. So being able to put together some of the adjustments that he was trying to work on last year during the offseason and gain some momentum going into next year.
I wanted to ask you about Nick Kurtz, of course, and the conversation starts with his bat. But I saw something, it might have been MLB.com, saw a recent piece about how his defense has come along. And you were quoted in that story, Coach, and somebody suggested that Nick Kurtz is developing defensively along the lines, same lines as Matt Olson. And you apparently in this piece I read, you don't want to go there yet with Nick Kurtz, right?
Well, it's hard to put that much pressure on a two-time Gold Glover, you know what I mean? But I was fortunate enough to be able to work with Matt and see his ability and the way he moved. And Kurtz has the work ethic to go out there and want to become a really good defender. And you see the way he moves for such a big guy. He's nimble around the base. He's starting to move a little bit better. His first steps are getting better, which are going to be important for his metrics that are gauging Gold Gloves. You know, can he catch it? Can he pick it? Yes, but there's other intangibles that are needed to be in the conversation for winning a Gold Glove. So I didn't want to put that pressure on him. But you know what? He goes out there with the work ethic every single day and wants to become a Gold Glove defender on top of what he's doing at the plate.
You guys have really, the A's have really improved. The numbers say dramatically on the defensive end of the floor, if I may. What's been, and obviously you as an infield coach deserve credit for that. What's been the key to that turnaround?
I think early there was a little bit of, we had Max Muncy playing a couple different positions and he was relatively new. We had some other guys that were around that were kind of filling in. So I think what's happened is we've kind of just settled in defensively. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Jacob missed some time, but Darryl Hernandez came up and Schumann came and filled in admirably at shortstop. And when Urias was here, he played a really good second base. And, once Geloff got here, so it's starting to, these guys are starting to see the work that they put in all year. Mm-hmm. We challenge them defensively every single day. We challenge them to look at their numbers to see how they're graded. And I think at the half, I had a meeting with each one of the infielders and showed them their defensive metric numbers and show them where they can improve and where we want to improve and show them where we want to get better and need to get better. And they've kind of taken and ran with it. The last couple of weeks of the season, you can easily just let off the gas pedal and be like, all right, I got a couple more weeks until the season ends. But these guys have been working every single day and they'll continue to work every single day. And it's starting to show. And what that does is I think our pitchers have settled down, our relievers have settled down. And so now they're pitching more to contact and our guys are ready to play and they're starting to go out there and show what they can do. And so I think it's just been a combination of a lot of different things, but I'll just take it back to those guys taking ownership of their defense and the work. And it's starting to come to fruition.
Eric Martin's with us, Ace third base coach and infield coach. To my eye, the team has kind of settled in to just being in a different stadium. And I'm not saying anything about the particulars of the stadium, but it's one that you guys had not played in before. Has that been part of the improvement? I know there was a terrible stretch, but you guys were just getting adjusted to a whole different stadium. That can happen to any team when they move from one location to another. Has that been part of the improvement, just kind of settling into where you are now?
I think in part, we don't want to use that as an excuse because a lot of these guys don't have enough time to really understand how good Oakland was. But for the most part, yes, I'll attribute a little bit to that. It's a minor league stadium. The grounds crew's done an outstanding job with the work that they've been throwing in front of them. And I can't commend Chris and his crew as much as they've worked their butts off this year. But at the beginning of the year, the field was a little bit different than we're accustomed to. Now it's settled in. The pitchers are getting used to the mound, the different backdrops and being adjusted to, instead of having 2 or 3 levels of a stadium and the outfielders having to deal with different kind of wind and your surroundings, it's not a lot of space here now. So, that had a little bit to do with it at the beginning, but we can't sit there and say that was a major part of our issues early.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We still had to go out there and perform and we weren't winning games on the road as well, but but settling into a new place and calling it home now, I think the guys have settled and embraced it now. The fans have been great. And I think now these guys are used to playing here now. So, which is good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about a question I saw on the internet on X and, you see some of the dumbest things on there, but the question was, someone was just throwing this out. Hey, do you think it's harder to go from playing infield to outfield or to go from being an outfielder to playing infield? Now, I played, I wasn't very good, but I played infield. To me, it's like infield is so much harder than playing outfield. To me, it's like if you can run a little bit and you can catch a fly ball, we could put you in the outfield. Infield is a whole different deal, and it's a challenge, and that's what makes it fun. But how about you? I mean, that's not a good question, is it?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, it's a lot harder moving from the outfield coming into the infield.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And, your reactions and the balls, the ball gets hit in the air. You have time to run underneath it. you don't have time in the infield. That ball's on you, and if you haven't made a move and haven't, you're not on time and your feet aren't moving, that ball's going to be in your mouth and your nose is going to be off your body somewhere. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot harder moving from the outfield to the infield because it speeds up a little bit more. The balls are hit a lot harder. The exit velocities off the ground are way harder than they are when they're hitting the air. So, it's a lot of different things that happen there. So it definitely, in my opinion, is a lot harder moving to the infield.
Yeah. And it's rare, you see a major leaguer move from the outfield to infield. It has happened. I have great admiration for those guys who have done that. For all the focus on Jacob Wilson and Nick Hertz and Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom is putting together almost quietly a great season. He had his 24th homer the other way over the weekend. I think he's tied a team record for most RBI by somebody under the age of 23. Tell us about Tyler Soderstrom and how important he's been to this team. And would you agree almost a little bit with some of the other prospects, almost a little bit under the radar?
I would say yes, just for the fact that, Jacob Wilson burst onto the scene. Nick Kurtz burst onto the scene, you know what I mean? And those guys were getting a lot of the headlines. Meanwhile, Soderstrom was just steadily doing what he does. He's turned into the hitter that we knew that he was going to be when we drafted him. It was just about finding a position for him, whether he was going to catch, whether he was going to play first base. Now he's settled into left field and did a fantastic job. But this guy's always hit. You know what I mean? And over last year, he got hurt a little bit when you started to see him starting to get on a hot streak and starting to see him get off. And this year, he stayed pretty much healthy the whole year, which has been great. And you're starting to see the numbers like 270, 20-plus homers, 80-plus ribs. I mean, it's ridiculous what he's doing. And now he's staying in there and being able to face these tough lefties and have those at-bats. That's when you see the maturation of a hitter, when now you're in there against righties and lefties. And he's starting to put together some yesterday was tough. I mean, you're facing Crochet. He's tough on righties alone, you know what I mean? So, but he had some good at-bats against the lefty, hit the home run on Sunday. And he's just one of those guys that's going to be, I say at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if Tyler Soderstrom hits 330 home runs and has 100 RBIs, and nobody's going to talk about him because of Nick Kurtz's numbers and what these other guys are going to do. So, which is fun. And he doesn't care. You know what I mean? He just goes out there. He loves to play, kick and hit. He's starting to break out of his shell, kind of an introvert at the beginning, but now you're starting to see some personality with him, and you see the passion and that he has for the game, which is fun to see.
Thanks, Coach. Welcome home. We appreciate it. Good luck against the Red Sox. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Kevin. Good talking to you.
Yeah, Coach Eric Martins. And